Boys and girls, it's Miss Alva. Today we're going to do a little more practice with using the distributive property to multiply. Now you should have your homework in front of you, and I've chosen just 4 of the problems to work with. Then once you're comfortable, you can finish the last 2 on your own. Did you notice that I didn't send home graph paper? Well, there's a reason for that. Sometimes when you're multiplying, you get a big number like this, 89. I would need to use 89 boxes on my graph paper to model this. That's way too many. We would need a giant graph paper, which we don't have. So today, we're just going to imagine that the boxes are there. We're still going to use our steps like we did yesterday, but we are imagining the boxes rather than actually counting them. Remember, you should be working along with me, and when I say pause the video, you can pause the video and then check your work. We're going to do the first one together. Okay? So, grab a piece of white paper. I should have sent one home with you. If not, you can find one at your house, hopefully, or on the back of your homework works just great. We're going to rewrite this problem going the long way. So I'm going to put number 1 here to show this is problem 1, and I'm going to put 1 here. Please don't try to cram the picture down here. Leave yourself space to work with and work on an extra piece of paper. Okay, so 89 times 3, right? So I'm going to imagine that I have an array. And oh, before you draw your rectangle, I did it way too close. So I'm going to move mine down, so be careful. Leave a little space here. Okay, so I'm imagining that this has 89 boxes going this way, because this is 89, and it has 3 boxes going this way. I know that there's no way I would be able to fit 89 boxes, but I'm just imagining. Okay, so you should have your array on your paper. Now we're going to follow the steps. Step 1 was draw your array. Step 2 was split this number apart. We're going to distribute our number, or another way to think of it is write it in expanded form. So let's see. What is the value of the 8? It's 80 because it's in the tens place. And 8 tens would be 80. What is the value of the 9? 9, because it's in the ones place, so we would just have 9 of the units. Great. So we've split up our number, just like when we use the expanded form, except we don't need the addition sign, right? Next, I'm going to split up my array. So here I go. Now this is 80, and this is 9. So I'm going to, if I do it here, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because this is supposed to be way bigger. It's 80, and this is 9. It's supposed to be smaller. So I kind of want to split it up like that. So I can kind of imagine that this is 9, and this is 80. That makes much more sense to me. Now, I think we're color coding it in class, right? So you should have your crayons with you. And I'm going to use my highlighter. So I'm going to color this kind of red to match my 80, which is red. And you color yours, whatever color you're coding it. Perfect. And then that's blue, so color that blue. Great. So now we have not only distributed our number out, we have also split our array into 2 pieces. Pretty familiar, right? We're basically doing the same thing we did last night. Okay, now, what multiplication problem could I use to find how many boxes there are in this left part? Well, this says 3 times 80. So I would use 3 times 80. We're going to practice really putting our parentheses in there to show that this is a group that should be together. Okay, this is a group that is together. And then, what is the multiplication problem for the blue one? Should be 3 times 9. Again, don't forget your parentheses. So really what I'm saying is that if I take 3 times 80 and add it to 3 times 9, I can find the total number of boxes. I'd get my answer, right? I can find 89 times 3. So how much is 3 times 80? Hope you said 240. That goes in here. And how much is 3 times 9? 27. That goes in here. And then we're adding the two together, right? That's what we're saying here. We're adding the two together. Okay, now this you might not be able to do in your head because we're working with a big number. So I would bring this over. Be careful to line up your place values. And our answer would be 267. And there's two things here that kind of show my process. The first thing is my model, which is the picture part. And the second thing is my equation, which is this one here. This is my equation. 3 times 80 plus 3 times 9. Great. Let's do the next problem. This one would be hopefully number 2 on your paper. Okay, and then on your blank piece of paper, match it. Let's look at this one. This says 54 times 7. Go ahead and draw the array, and then when you're ready, you can unpause the video. Okay, welcome back. You should have drawn something like this with a 7 and a 54. We're imagining the boxes are there. Great. Now, split the 54 using your expanded form and split the model. I'm going to let you do 2 steps on your own because I think we've practiced a lot in class and on our other videos. So I think you can do 2 steps. So split the 54, expand it, and then split your model and color code it. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, so the value of the 5 is 50. The value of the 4 is 4. And actually, see how this doesn't make sense? We should move this over here because the 4 should be much smaller. Much better. And did you color it? If you didn't, go back and do that now, and I will color my model. Great. Now, the next step is to write out your equation down here. Can you do that now? Pause the video. Welcome back. Remember, our equation is our number sentence. So this is saying 7 times 50. So I would write, using your parentheses, 7, and I should color code that too, huh? Let's try that again. I would write 7 times 50. That's going to be for the pink square. And then for the green square, I would write 7 times 4. Okay. And what I'm going to do once I find my answer for each of these is add them together. So don't forget your plus sign. So here's my equation. 7 times 50 for the pink square plus 7 times 4 for the green square. Now we can solve it. 7 times 50, can you use your mental math for that? Karate chop. Just like in class, right? 350. 7 times 4, karate chop, 28. In case you're wondering, karate chop is when, what we do in math, right? For you to say your answer, except you can't see me do the karate chop with my hand. Okay. So 7 times 5 is 350, 7 times 4 is 28, okay, and we're going to add them together. So 350 plus 28 is 378. Notice how I don't have to put 350 in here and 28 in here. But I could if I wanted to, but I don't need to because I have my equation, I have my model, I have my answer. So you don't need to put those there. But if you like to, you of course may. Okay, the next one. Ooh, triple digits. All right, now this is exactly why we don't always count the boxes, right? Can you imagine counting 625 boxes? That would take forever. Okay, so draw your array. Don't get nervous, it's exactly the same as before. Oh, let me get black. Black is a better color to start with. So it's just exactly the same as before. We're going to draw a rectangle. An array is always going to be a rectangle. And 6 and 625 goes on top. We are imagining that that is 625 squares, right? Give myself some room here. It's a lot of squares. Okay, now we're going to split this number up just like we did before, but this time there are 3 digits, so I need to have 3 numbers. So, starting with the 6, what is the value of the 6? 600, right? What is the value of the 2? 20. And what is the value of the 5? 5. It's just like expanded form. 600 plus 20 plus 5 will give me 625. But don't add the plus signs. We don't need them. Okay, so how am I going to divide up this square? Or this rectangle? Well, if I imagine that this is 5 squares, I would say they're probably a little smaller, right? And if this was 20, it'd be bigger than the 5, so maybe a little bigger than the 5. And the biggest one should be the 600, right? So let's scoot this guy over. And it doesn't matter if we're exact, we're just imagining. 5 is the smallest, then 20 is a little bigger, then the 600 is the biggest. Perfect. All right, let's color. And then my 20 is green. And my 5 is blue. Great. Next step is going to be to write our equation. Now our equation is going to be a little longer this time because there's a lot more, there's 3 boxes now we're dealing with, right? So what's our red one going to say? All right, if you want to challenge yourself and you want to write out the equation, don't forget your parentheses. You can pause the video. If you feel, I want some guidance, then just keep watching. Okay, so either way, let's see. This says 6 times 600. So my equation would start off with 6 times 600. Parentheses show it's a box or a group. This says 6 times 20. My last one says what? 6 times 5. So now I have one for each box, and once we find the answer for each of these, we're going to add them, right? So we need a plus sign. So here's what your equation should look like. Does it match? Hopefully it does. It should say 6 times 600 plus 6 times 20 plus 6 times 5. Okay, so let's solve. 6 times 600 is, use your mental math. 6 times 6 is 36, and you add the 2 zeros. Okay. 6 times 20 is, 6 times 5 is 30, and we're going to add all these, right? And you can put your results in here if you want. That's absolutely okay. But if you don't do that on the test, I won't mark you wrong, okay? But I do need to see your equation though. Okay, so here's your equation. We've solved for each of these boxes or parentheses. Now we need to add all of these three together, right? We need to add all three together to find our answer. Be careful, you've done all this work. We talked about attention to detail in class and really, really being precise. So when you're doing this, you need to make sure that you line up your place values, right? The zeros are all in the ones place. These are the tens place. These are the hundreds, and these are the thousands. So be careful. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 2 is 5. 6 plus 1 is 7. And here's our answer, 3,750. Great. See, 3 digits aren't that scary, are they? They are exactly like 2 digits. We just have to do an extra step. Okay, last one. 4 digits now. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so if you want to challenge yourself, you may try to solve this on your own. If you feel like you need guidance, of course, you may keep watching. Okay, ready? Your array, ready? Here we go. Should be a rectangle. This should be 6. What are you going to put up here? 5,677. I'm going to challenge you to split up this number on your own, just like expanded form. This time, instead of 3 numbers like that, we're going to have 4 numbers because this number has 4 digits. So go ahead and split them, and when you're done, press play. Welcome back. What is the value of the 5? 5,000. What is the value of the 6? 600. What is the value of the 7? 70. And what is the value of this 7? 7. 5,000 plus 600 plus 70 plus 7 would give me 5,677. We did expanded form. Now we need to divide our rectangle or our array. Pause the video and see if you can do it. Okay, remember we're just eyeballing it. So this is 7, it's the smallest one, so I'm going to make it pretty small. Maybe even smaller than that. Let's see. That's pretty good. Then the 70 is going to be a little bigger. And the 600 is going to be a little bigger. And then the 5,000 is going to be the biggest. And now I have a smart notebook file, so I can arrange this a little bit how I want it. Oops, I don't want my 70 sideways. Let's see. But when you're doing it at home, you kind of have to think ahead a little bit, huh? Because you can't move your numbers like this. I guess you could erase if you're not using a crayon. Okay. So this is the 7, the 70, the 600, and the 5,000. Grab your crayons and let's color code. All right, because there's so many different parentheses, I'm going to use color to kind of show you which goes with which. You don't need to use color on yours. If you use your pencil, that's okay. So my first one is going to say 6 times 5,000. Right, to show this here. My next one's going to say 6 times 600. For the green one. My next one is going to say 6 times 70. Oh, and I'm running out of room. So I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. My last one is going to say 6 times 7. Okay, and for it to be an equation, we need to show that once I find the answer to all of these, I'm going to add them to find the total, right? Okay, here's your equation. Does yours look like mine? Hopefully it does. So let's solve. Using mental math, 6 times 5,000 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30, and then add 3 zeros plus 6 times 600 plus 6 times 70 plus, okay? So this is the answer for that. The answer, the answer, and the answer. See how I don't necessarily want to write this up here? There's not enough room. So I'm just going to leave my equation and I'm not going to label here, and that's okay. Okay. Oh, are we done? Now we need to add these together now. So 30,000 plus 1,200, remembering to line up your place value, plus 420 plus 42. That's 2, 6, 6, 1. Our answer is 31,662. Woo! A lot of hard work, right? But it is gratifying to get the correct answer. All right, I left 2 of the problems for you to do on your own. Now remember, draw your array, split up the number using your value, okay, like expanded form. Write your equation, don't forget your parentheses, one parentheses group or bundle, I like to call them, per rectangle. This one goes for this one, this one goes for this one is for this one, and once you have that, you are going to put a plus in between them to show we're going to add them all together. Then you can solve and then add them all together, and that will give you your answer. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me. It really makes me happy to know that you are practicing math at home so that when you come to class, you are ready to go. I'll see you next time.